Hi there everyone. I had a request on how to turn the skull pattern into a scarf, and I was working with it yesterday, and this is my sample. You can see that instead of putting the skulls partly on the previous skull, then I went ahead and put them in between, and I made half skulls over here to take up that space. So all you have to do is just repeat these rows for however long you want your scarf to be. I also, when I'm making this, then I did a sort of chain up along the edges so that it's easier to put a border on it. So that's what it looks like. And for those who know the original hat pattern for this, there are differences between this one and that. So some things are the same, but there are differences. So just try to bear with me here. When I first started working this, then originally I did a multiples of 8 plus 16. The reason why I say plus 16 is because your multiples of 8 counts as the number of skulls plus an extra 4 for a final skull, whereas if you did a round, then it would just be multiples of 8. So here then I did 2 multiples of 8 plus the 4, so that gave me the 3 skulls, and the extra that would have been the 4 from there. The extra 12, then that had given me the chains along the sides here. What I'm going to actually do, I think it kind of ended up a little loose along those corners, so I'm actually going to only do 5 extra chains here. And that should keep it from looking a little funny right there. So we'll do multiples of 8 plus 14. For my sample and for this tutorial, I used Lion brand yarn, Heartland. So it's a 4-weight yarn. And I used my H hook. Now you can do any size hook you want with any size yarn. It shouldn't affect the pattern itself unless you go crazy with like a lace yarn with a K hook. That you might not want to do. And speaking of lace, this pattern, if you have that kind of patience, I really don't. But you can take this pattern and with like a white lace yarn, you can make a runner to decorate your kitchen table for Halloween or Dia de los Muertos, or just for the heck of it because you like skulls. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to do the same as my sample where I start off with a row of 3 skulls. So that is 2 multiples of 8 plus 14. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's my 2 multiples. Plus 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay. And in the 6th chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I like to go into the little back bump. There'll be a double crochet in there. And this is where it's a little different from the hat pattern. This chain 5 does not count as the skull's jawline. This is actually, I had actually done a treble in there and a chain 1, but I'm gonna do the double crochet instead, because as you can see, that kind of made it a little too long there. So I put the double there, and I'm gonna chain 1. Then I'm going to put a double crochet into the same stitch. It's such a pretty yarn, but sometimes you grab threads that you don't need. Okay. And then a double crochet into the next 3 stitches, or 3 chains. One, 2, 3, and then chain 4, and slip stitch into the same stitch as your last double crochet. Then slip stitch over 5 stitches. Three, 4, and the 5th one, and from there you're going to chain 4, double crochet into that same stitch. Now you're working your repeat pattern, double crochet into the next 3 stitches, got my yarn stuck. That's 3 there, then chain 4, and slip stitch into same stitch as your last double. Then slip over 5 stitches, three, 4, 5. Alright. And chain up 4. Double crochet into the same stitch. Into the next 3 stitches, and after your last double crochet, I want you to pause. Let me catch up with you. So do not make those final 4 chains yet. Alright. This is my last double. Now, this is what makes it a little difficult to do a pattern, written pattern with, is because I'm not sure how you would write this technique down. What I'm going to do is, my camera focus. Okay. I'm going to put my hook into that same stitch at the base of that double crochet and pull up the yarn, and from here I'm going to chain the 4. Actually, I'm going to chain 3 right now. So 1, I'm not pulling through this loop over here. 2, 3, and before I do my 4th, I want to take this edge of chain here and this very first chain on the whole thing, I'm going to put my hook through that. If my hook will go through that. Come on. There you go. Alright. And now I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. So that brings this line up here, giving me that corner. And I have my jawbone right here. And this is exactly what I did for my sample here. Okay. So from here, I'm going to turn it. I'm going to go ahead and tuck that line over. I'm going to chain 1. Now, when you do that that chain up, then it loosens the stitch right there. So I went ahead and gave me space to put 2 single crochets. Then I'm going to put 1 single on the first double and chain 2. I'll come over here and on this 4th double crochet here, I'm put a single. I'm still keeping that extra thread down just so I don't have to sew it in. And then in this chain space here, 2 singles. Okay. Again, chain 2. And do that repeat pattern. In the chain space, put 2 singles. A single in the first double. chain 2, a single in the last double, 2 singles in the chain space, and chain 2. And go ahead and do the same thing with my last skull. 2 singles in the chain space, a single in the first double, chain 2, single in the last double. Oops. Keep catching yarn I don't need. There we go. And remember, you can't really call this a chain space per se, but I mean that is that chain 1 right there. So 2 singles along that. Okay. That gives the jaw area and the nose area. I'm going to turn, and because it's the first skull in the line, I'm going to chain 5, 4, 5, and double crochet into that chain 2 nose space. Chain 4, and come over, and this last single crochet on this skull, gonna single crochet into that, and those of you who don't know the original pattern, the reason why it's 5 right here is because one of those chains is equal to the single crochet over here. So you have 5 chains here and 4 chains in the single over here. So that makes it even. And we're going to put 2 single crochets along this chain 2 space between the skulls. And a single crochet into this first single crochet of the next skull. Chain 4. Double crochet into that chain 2 nose space, chain 4, single crochet into the last single crochet of the skull, two single crochets around that chain 2 space between the skulls, and a single into that first single crochet, chain 4, double crochet into the chain 2 nose space. Now if you remember, if you did it also, you put that thread across, then it's right there in that nose space. Right here. So I'm going to go ahead and tuck that up against the chain 2. I'm going to double crochet that right there, just to help keep it still. Okay. And chain 4. And you could have marked it. I have my marker, but I forgot to mark it. This first, or I should say, the last single crochet of the skull is right there. There's a yarn over right here that kind of ends it, so it's right there. If you could find it, it's easier to mark it. Put a single crochet there. I'm gonna turn it, and this is another spot that needs an edging to crochet the border on. As you can see, I have it like that, because there's a chain along here and right there. So we're going to go ahead and work that. Oops. Let me correct myself. I didn't put the this edging, this chain space until after I completed the eye area. So let's go ahead and do the eyes. After you turned, go ahead and chain one so that you can put a single crochet into the eye area. And then I'm going to put 4 half doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to come over into the next eye area, put 4 half doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so that mirrors the other one, I'll put a single. Okay, so that's the first one. Now I'm going to slip stitch the 4 single crochets that are across right there. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the next skull with the single, and 4 half doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and mirroring it on the other side with 4 half doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a single. Then slip stitch over 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and to this skull, the single, 4 half doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the next eye. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a single crochet. Okay, now this is where you want to put the edging that'll get you up right here and across there. So you have half for your border, half for your half skull up right there. So I'm going to chain, I believe it's 8. Let's see. I'm going to chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm going to come to the top of the skull, and I'll take the center 4 half doubles, and I'm going to put single crochets across those 4. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 'kay. I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and go into the next skull and do the same thing. 4 singles across the top, 4 center half doubles. One, 2, 3, 4, 'kay. I'm going to chain 4. Do the same thing to the last skull. That's where I got a little weird there. Let me fix that. Alright. So for the final skull, put 1, 2, 3, 4, and remember we need to put this edging over here. So what I'm going to do is going to go ahead and smooth this line across the edge of the skull, and I'm going to hold it there, and then in this first single of the skull, I'll put my hook through, pull up a loop of yarn, making sure I don't tug that line along the edging too much. Now I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on the 6th I'm going to pull through both loops. Okay, so that gives me what I need on both sides. And here now you remember that when you do this kind of technique, it loosens the stitch here. That's going to be needed for doing the half skull. When you do the half skull, then you want to add a chain along each layer. So since this one starts off with double crochets, then you're going to do a chain 3. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to do half of the skull. So doing this half, you do 2 double crochets, and a chain 4, and slip stitch down there with that space. Then you're going to slip stitch over these 4 stitches, and then another slip stitch into this chain 4 space. And you're going to start doing the pattern all over again as usual. So it's chain 4, then you're going to do 4 double crochets, two, 3,